So I want to create a second idea for the poster design, this time using the repetition technique. So this is going to work a little bit differently, and I'm going to use the eye in this case and repeat it in order to create an interesting composition. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a copy of this artboard by going to the artboard tool, holding down Option and dragging out. And I'm actually just going to delete everything because I just want a clean artboard to work with. And I'm going to use the eye again to create the composition. So I'm actually just going to use the same eye in this case. So I'm going to double click to enter isolation mode into that graphic and just go ahead and select the three components of that eye, hit Command C to copy, and then double click to exit isolation mode and hit Command V to bring it into my canvas with paste. So I'm going to scale this down. And the idea is I'm going to create a bunch of these eyes and use them to do something a little conceptual. So let's go ahead and make some copies using step and repeat. So I'm going to hold down Command and Shift, and then Command D to make a few copies. Okay, we'll make 5 across, and then we'll step and repeat and do a bunch down. There we go. Okay, then I'm just going to nudge this so that it's centered in the composition. Okay, and it looks like we need a little bit more spacing vertically in order for it to fill the page evenly. So I'm just going to select all these and nudge it down a few times. And so I'm basically putting 2 nudges in between each row, which is helping me do it in a mathematical way. So that's just a little trick to move things around. Okay, and then the result is I've got just the right spacing. Okay, so I have a bunch of eyes here. The next thing I want to do is create some variation in these eyes, because remember, with the repetition technique, you don't want just the same eye over and over again. It's not going to be that interesting. So we want to actually create a lot of variation in what's going on here, and I think color is a good way to do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is first just select, let's select a bunch of these outer shapes. Okay, and I'm going to change those outer shapes to be a little bit of the darker color. Okay, and let's go ahead and put in our background as well, because that'll help us visualize what we're doing. Okay, so I'm going to put that in the back by hitting Command Shift and open bracket. And then let's just choose a color for that. I think I'll use the medium color in this case. Okay, so you can see we have a few eyes that are a little darker, and then the rest of the eyes are the same color. Let's grab another selection of the outer shapes. I'm trying to do this somewhat randomly. And then we'll go to a lighter shade. I can't go to this shade because that's the same shade as the background, so I'll just skip to the lighter shade. And then let's select a bunch more here. Okay, and we'll go to the lightest shade on those. So you can see we're already starting to get some variation. And now let's do the same for this inner shape. So I'm going to just start selecting some of these. Oops, I want that middle shape. Holding down Shift so I can select more than one. And let's go to the same color as the background. In this case, it's okay because there's a shape separating the background and the inner shape. Now let's do that again, get a little more variation going. There we go. This one will go to the lightest color. Alright, and then this one will go to the second lightest color. And let's just randomize a few more of these. There's a few too many dark ones in here, so I'm going to just find those, and I'll go to the second darkest instead. Okay, so we have a few problems because there's some situations where the colors are running into each other, so let's go ahead and just for those exact ones, change to a different shade. There we go. Oh, and there's a few more here. Okay, looks like just that one. So I'm going to go ahead and change that one to a different shade. Okay, and then lastly, let's do it for the middle shape. Select a few of these to create some interesting variation. So in situations where the color runs into the same color, or there's two that look a little too similar, I can just go ahead and switch that one up. So I'll go to a dark eye for that one, and I'll go much brighter in here. So you can spend a lot of time just kind of tuning up this composition and making it interesting. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but you can see that this variation that we're putting in is making this repetition really work. Whereas when they were all the same, it was just kind of boring. So keep that in mind. It's a really good way to, just mix things up either with color or maybe there's a different shape for each one. We could potentially do some kind of eyelashes or some other modification and have that be a repetitive element as well to incorporate that variation. And then the other part of doing this type of composition is breaking the repetition. And when you break the repetition, that's going to create a focal point. So that's a good opportunity for us to put our actual information in and have people read it. So let's go ahead and find a place to break it. I'm going to choose this area down here. So I'm going to select those 4 eyes and delete them. Okay. And then I'm just going to copy my text in. And you definitely don't have to make the text the same, but in this case, I'm just going to keep it the same for the sake of keeping this demonstration somewhat short. Same with the color palette. Feel free to vary your color palette between your options, but in this case, I'm just going to go with the same one. There we go. So you can see that that breakpoint really pulls us into that text. And then we could put our other text in here as well. So let me just copy what I already have. And then I'll bring that in. There we go. And we'll make this much smaller. Okay, so we could probably work on that text a little bit more, but you can see that this is already creating some pretty interesting ideas in the compositional space. So this is a pretty cool idea. Another thing that we might be able to do is have the eyes be much more repetitive, but then have the one variation happen kind of more near our text. So let's try that also. I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of this. Okay, and I'm actually going to delete everything except for one eye. And let's go ahead and style this eye kind of how we want it. Maybe we'll make it kind of a dark eye, because the idea is that the bright eye will be kind of more near our words. So let's go ahead and make this kind of a more generic looking eye. There we go, that looks kind of generic. And then we'll do a similar technique here where let's go ahead and step and repeat. And then we'll step and repeat in the other direction as well. And I'm using the smart guides on the other composition to help me do this in an accurate way. There we go. So I think in this case, maybe what we'll do is we'll put our text right in the middle. And then we'll have one eye kind of right next to the text that's helping highlight this. So let's give that a try. I'm going to go ahead and delete a few eyes in here to give us some space to work. Okay, so I'm going to delete these 6 central eyes. Okay, and then let's go ahead and put our text in. Maybe we'll make it one line just to get it to be a little more symmetrical in this case. There we go. And then maybe this eye right here is the one that'll go super bright. So let's go ahead and make our pupil the bright color, and then the outside the bright color as well. And maybe just to get a lot of contrast, we'll do the dark color here. Okay, and then maybe we'll even make this a little brighter than that. So I'm going to pull this color up. There we go. And I'll do the same with the text as well. Just make that a little brighter. There we go. All right, so I have a little bit of an issue here where I almost want to bring back another row of eyes because I have a lot of space here for my text. So that could be a little bit of an issue. I think what I'll do right now instead is just kind of embrace all that extra space and just kind of bring this in the center. And I can bring my information in as well. And just sort of lock that underneath. And maybe, once again, I'll bring this and go with kind of the lighter weight of Festivo, just so it's not distracting. There we go. Make that just a little bit bigger. Cool. So now we have two different compositions using repetition. In this one, there's a lot of variation in all the eyes. And then where we're breaking that repetition, we have a little bit of a focal point. Then here we just have one eye that's really standing out from everything else. So that's kind of a different metaphor because we're almost saying that in a sea of kind of regular eyes, we're kind of this bright spot. And so it's, just giving a different metaphor to the name of our band.